Welcome to the world of dangling and misplaced modifiers. You ready? The writing process is indeed a lot like a Sylvester Stallone movie. There are ups, there are downs, be some pretty tricky situations. What do you do when you're dangling like Sylvester Stallone? Well, you reach for the closest solid surface and hang on. The truth is the same thing goes for modifiers in your writing. They like to reach out to the nearest target, usually a noun, and hope it holds. What are modifiers? Modifiers are words or phrases that help to modify or describe in a sentence. They like to act like adjectives or adverbs. The truth is that modifiers can be very powerful because they add extra detail and life to a piece of writing. Here's an example. Sighing heartily, Tim got up and ambled away. In this case, sighing heartily, the text in red, is the modifier in the sentence. It adds extra details so we understand a little bit more about what Tim was doing when he got up and ambled away. In this case, sighing heartily, the modifier, clearly modifies the nearest noun, which happens to be Tim. Now, here's an important alert. Notice that this modifier is reaching for the nearest target, a noun. It's got to hold on to its nearest noun, Tim. Sometimes modifiers can get misplaced. Here's an example. I fed the fish wearing a wacky little party hat. Again, the text in red helps to modify the sentence. And here's a nice note. Modifiers often include ing words, so next time you're looking through your writing to find any misplaced modifiers, you can look for those ing words. In this case, wearing a wacky little party hat, our modifier, has to reach out to the nearest target. And this time, it's reaching for the noun fish. Suddenly, we've entered a world where goldfish wear wacky little party hats. Something's not right, and it's because, as our goldfish knows, that modifier is misplaced. How can we correct it? Here's the corrected version. Wearing a wacky little party hat, I fed the fish. Now, when the modifier reaches for its target, usually a noun, and in this case a pronoun, I, the sentence makes perfect sense. No more fish wearing party hats. Misplaced modifiers simply need to be rearranged in the sentence so the meaning is clear. Sometimes modifiers can dangle, and here's an example. With a few hungry gulps, the pizza was eaten. Remember that modifiers really want to reach out to the nearest target, usually a noun. And in this case, when with a few hungry gulps reaches out, the only thing it can grab is pizza. What kind of monster pizza eats things with a few hungry gulps? This just doesn't make any sense. There's no clear noun or target for this modifier to grab, so it's just dangling there, helpless. Here's a corrected version. With a few hungry gulps, Joe ate the pizza. Because dangling modifiers don't have a clear noun to grab, it's got to be added back into the sentence. So now we can rest assured that there's a person who consumed that pizza with a few hungry gulps. Perhaps Joe ought to slow down a bit. Here are some more examples. And this time, I'd like you to try your hand at correcting the dangling and misplaced modifiers. I've got some hints down at the bottom of the screen to help you identify and correct some of the errors in these sentences. Here, we'll pause the presentation so that you can write down the corrected versions of these sentences. Now, let's compare your solutions to mine. Note that there are several ways to correct any dangling or misplaced modifiers that might pop into a sentence. So you can get creative. Just make sure that your modifiers now reach out to the appropriate target, usually a noun. Deep thoughts and dangling modifiers. This is the type of error that's pretty typical in student writing. Let's take a look. Preparing to graduate, the sky's the limit. Now this sounds like a really inspiring idea, doesn't it? But if you take a closer look, we don't know who's preparing to graduate. If preparing to graduate reaches out to the nearest noun, it looks like the sky's getting ready to graduate. And I know for a fact that the Sky hasn't been submitting really great essays and reading all the required texts that we've got in English class. And so, something is definitely missing in this sentence. Can you fix it? What would you add to make it clear who or what is preparing to graduate? And now it's your turn. Take a look at this handout. I've got some examples and explanations up at the top, and at the bottom you'll have a chance to work with a partner to write your own funny sentences, including wacky, dangling, or misplaced modifiers. Then we'll trade with another pair, and you can try to correct the errors created by your fellow classmates. Good luck and happy editing!